Wow.
Oh boy.
I want to try a take where I start it. Like you've started it like the whole time we've done this. But because I didn't want to.
Oh.
I mean, that's my perception is that it's your job. to talk.
That's your job, man. There has to be a time where you've done it, but yeah.
Maybe.
You know
I think I remember one time early on you were like, you started.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But then normally I just have deferred to you because I didn't
I do it and that's how you know, hey, now we're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Like you kind of shift into podcast mode,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But that's because you're good at it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? We're keeping all this in.
Well, guess what? Are you
going to do it?
I'm going to do it. But then if I don't like it, you're going to take it out and then you're going to do it. Okay?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, hi, I'm Sister Lisa.
And I'm Brother Dan.
Which sounds weird because it's normally in the opposite order. And we are here today because we're going to talk. And
we're gathered here today.
It's a little weird though because...
What's the show called?
This show is called Siblings in Sighing.
That's right.
And we're still going to be siblings.
That's true.
But we're not going to do this podcast anymore.
I mean,
actually.
We can't say never, but
maybe
we
never.
are treating this episode as the finale.
Yeah.
It is the finale of season 5.
And we don't want you to freak out, but we do want to let you know.
Don't worry.
Right now that is
we
the
want to be
intention.
Honest.
Yeah, that we're going into this with.
This is the energy that we're bringing.
This is
the space that we're going to hold.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So today we're just going to talk about how we feel about that.
Talk about our feelings.
I'm a little anxious about it. This is a little weird. Yeah.
Huh.
And, I've got some questions.
I got questions.
For you.
Great.
And we have just a little story to tell about watching a certain movie.
Oh boy.
That came out recently.
Everybody's been talking about it.
Is there anything in particular that you want to get into this episode?
I guess there's a couple wrap-up touchstone questions I'd have about where you are in...
Yeah, we probably have similar questions.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine.
Because it's been, 5 years.
It's been 5 years.
Since we started this.
And we could keep doing this, but we don't have to.
We really don't.
What was the conversation that we had about it recently?
I think we've even mentioned it while we've been recording. We've been doing it for a while, and the reason that we started it, in my view, is to help you talk your way through your deconstruction of Mormonism. Talking about certain subjects, certain themes, the stuff that made you question, and kind of breaking down that stuff for you.
And I was still learning a lot of stuff.
That was still a pretty active time.
Yeah.
And then subsequently, it seemed like a good idea to make it something that people could hear and possibly find use in. And we've heard from people, and that has been the case.
Yeah.
It's not like we became the next Mormon Stories or even Zelf on the Shelf. Like, another thing is this never became a job like it has for several people.
Yeah.
We still have only ever paid money to do it, to get it on the internet.
Yeah. Which is fine. I don't think either of us ever
expected that. No.
For that to be the case.
I don't even think I'd want that to be the case, because then we'd have to keep a schedule. We would have to talk about current events, and that market just seems...
There are people who do that, and we know that.
That space seems saturated
and we listen to them.
Covered.
We love them. You know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You know who they are.
Yeah. I think ultimately, though, whether we intended for it or not, I don't think actually we thought our family would listen to this.
Yeah.
But some of them have, and it's been a catalyst for them understanding us a little more in our decision to not be members of the church that they raised us in. And
that's true.
Probably invaluable.
Definitely. That was an effect of this that we didn't anticipate. But I am really glad.
Yeah, definitely.
That it's opened up conversations in our family.
But when it comes down to it, what else do we have to talk about?
Right. Yeah. And there's no point in dragging something out just because it's sad to stop or it's what you've been doing.
I enjoy doing this with you.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm so glad that I'll have this library of conversations that we've done.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
For me, I've already listened back to some of them and thought, hey, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
That was great.
Yeah, me too.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because ultimately it's just been about us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you and I will keep having conversations about this.
Oh, yeah.
And I think what you were saying about the evolution was mostly focused on my journey.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was the more indoctrinated of the two of us.
By far.
By far. And I'm proud to say I've come a long way.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't feel like I need the space of being recorded and sharing it as much as I have in the past. And I think we did what we set out to do in a lot of senses.
And I have the personality that I don't like unplanned endings. I don't like abrupt. I like resolution.
Yeah, I think it's good that we're intentionally noticing that there's been a slowdown, that we're focused on different things, and that it's okay to decide consciously, like, it feels good to kind of wrap it up here. And I wonder if, like, how you feel about the ending of something. Does it bring anything up for you?
Choosing to end something has a different quality to it than it just stopping or it being forced upon you to not have it. Like
if you died, then I would never be able to tell anyone because you're the one with the technological skills.
You wouldn't even know how to record it or where to put it.
Just post a story on Instagram and be like, so something's inside is over.
Brother Dan has passed. And so it's over.
Right.
Obviously you can think about relationships you've had that you didn't choose to end, but
of course
ended. And for me, like, I was in a band that I didn't want to stop. And what bothered me was we didn't have a last show. Like we didn't choose together to wrap it up.
You didn't have that closure.
And have some sort of send off about it. We had a show planned and we canceled it and it was over. But yeah, I'm okay with it. It's been a worthwhile pursuit.
Yeah, yeah.
The fruit of the labor I'm really proud of.
Definitely. And it has been mostly your labor.
Well, when it comes down to
be truthful.
Yeah. But a lot of the content has come from your experiences.
Sure. It's been a collaboration.
That's right. We're a team.
Through and through.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
Wow.
But like I said, we started, the intention was we'll do this in seasons so that we don't have to feel like we have to do it all the time. We can intentionally take a break. And we were really good about, while we're making a season, posting every week or two. And then season 5 started over a year ago.
The season we're in.
Yeah. That we are now wrapping up. And they've all been 10 episodes. And this is number 10.
The longest season of our lives. I made a list of books to read for next year with the goal to read one every month. And none of them are about Mormonism.
Yeah. I still have, and I've said, so many books on my shelf that I've had every intention of reading. And I'm like, do I? What am I? What am I going to get out of spending more time learning about this? I mean, it is endlessly fascinating when it comes down to it. But I know all the reasons people believe Joseph Smith did what he did and said what he said. I know all the reasons why non-believers have told the story of what he did and what he said and how it wasn't true and what he actually didn't do, what he actually did. And reading another book about him is beginning to feel like a waste of time.
Yeah. I feel like No Man Knows My History is really all I needed.
Sure.
When it comes down to
all of them since then are, kind of derivative.
Yeah.
They have their own strengths, but...
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe you'll go to school. You'll get a PhD.
Who knows?
And you'll need those books.
Who knows?
Who knows?
I do want to read that book on Brigham Young because I still feel like that's a hole in my understanding.
That's fair.
I think that's a hole in most people's understanding of this church, whether you believe it or not.
That time period when he was
prophet for what? Close to 50 years?
Long time. And he had about that many wives.
And yeah. And in relative terms, is hardly talked about.
Yeah.
When it comes to this church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the people that moved out west, he's the most consequential person.
It is weird that the universities are named after him.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he helped build Utah.
Yeah. It was him. It wasn't Joseph.
No. And it's not really, this isn't really Joseph's church. It's his.
That's true. It used to be Joseph's.
But after he died, there became many, many churches. This is just one of them.
That's a good point. Joseph was the foundation for all the ones that exist now.
Mm-hmm.
But Brigham is the head of the mainstream Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's a really good point.
That's why I'd like to know more about his actual story and his impact.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to point out what an absolute tyrant, misogynist, sexist ass he was.
Yeah.
Because they just wrote everything down that he said, and a lot of it was really shitty. And there's more documentation about what he actually said, like direct. He's speaking at General Conference, and we are writing it down.
Yeah.
And printing it in the Journal of Discourses, which has been discontinued in sale by Deseret Books.
Just going to do a quick Google. Just 1 second. His birthday was June 1st.
Probably early 1800s.
1801.
Whoa.
So that makes him a Gemini.
And what does that mean?
Fascinating. It means traits of a Gemini, they're versatile, they're impulsive. The symbol is the twins, the Gemini twins. They're passionate, enthusiastic, inquisitive, creative, and quick to task. Among others. Just interesting.
Is he not the one that said that people did live on the moon and they were like 8 feet tall and they dressed like Quakers? Yeah. And that, in fact, people actually lived on the sun.
And that just makes sense.
Yep.
I don't know enough about astrology to go much farther than that, but just curious. All right. Well, enough about him.
Yeah.
I do want to touch on Heretic.
Okay.
Before we forget.
I mean, I'm sure most people listening have heard about this. It's been...
Or listened to other people talk about it.
Right. Well, definitely. Because, as we mentioned, I mean, there's lots of commentators about the world of Mormonism now, and this has been a very hot topic.
Yeah.
So, Heretic is a movie produced by A24, which is
What is A24? It's a studio?
It's a smaller studio. Well, at least it has been. It's known for like these genre movies and better independent films in general. Like, do
you have a favorite?
A24 like has a vibe. I think
them.
Didn't they? I think they did Uncut Gems.
Oh, I didn't.
Which I still haven't watched, but it's one of the most talked about.
Maybe we should watch that.
Mm-hmm. We've talked about that for a while.
We've talked about
this.
Okay, well, we'll put it in the books.
Okay.
All right.
So I think part of the draw was that Hugh Grant was playing this villain character.
The draw for just the general population. Yeah.
But the premise is 2 sister missionaries are just out doing their rounds.
Yeah.
They come to his house. He lets them in, and then all kinds
Spoiler alert. We are going to get into the specifics.
Yes. All sorts of hijinks ensue. There's scares. There's laughs. There's tears. There's some blood. And there's some interesting ideas and conversation around belief and disbelief. And how far are you willing to go to act on your belief or for your belief?
And you saw the reaction that I had because we went to this together.
This was terrible.
And it was a good movie. It's a good movie.
It's well done.
I'm not disappointed I saw it.
Yeah.
Just to be clear. But I do want to explain to you, I think you can infer. I think you can infer why I was so upset.
Sure.
But I want to get into more specifics about why.
Yeah. So, obviously, we went to this because of the subject matter.
Of course.
I, of course, assumed that, this is going to be at least a thriller and definitely have some horror elements.
Yeah.
I did not anticipate how that combination would affect you, or that you didn't assume the same thing?
I definitely was thinking it was 80% psychological thriller.
Yeah.
And
which I think, honestly, when it comes down to it, it is.
Yeah.
But what the physical stuff does stand out in the memory.
Does. Yeah. And I am very sensitive.
The first 2/3 are psychological thrillers.
It's true. I just really didn't expect how twisted it would go and how much it would feel like a horror movie to me.
Mm-hmm. Throughout, I would see you're kind of watching through your hands, or you're like
so tense.
Yes. I was like, okay, well, I mean,
she's fine.
It's a movie.
It's
You'll be okay. And then at the end, she's bawling, basically.
You're like putting on your coat, and I'm like,
yeah. I'm like, oh, no, what have I done?
And then people are leaving. They're like, look, she's crying.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is scary.
Which was humiliating. So, yeah, I was like, I'll be fine. I haven't been on my mission in 9 years.
Yeah.
Right? I'm an adult. I've seen scary movies. This will be good for me.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, haven't most of the scary movies you've seen been edited for content?
Yes, that's true. So I do have a low threshold for horror. And when I watch movies, I'm sure a lot of people listening can relate. Like my somatosensory reflexes and instincts and responses are just very palpable. You know, like there's a cortex in your brain where you feel things. And when I watch something happen, I feel like I can feel it.
I get that.
In some senses.
I get that.
And so my reaction to a movie, even though I know it's a movie, is like very intense. Like my nervous system was very heightened.
I have a particular sense like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it is cutting.
Yes.
And so, you know, we are talking.
That's a big one.
Spoilers here.
Yeah.
There is a part where a woman's arm gets sliced.
I couldn't watch that.
That is like, oh!
Yeah, I could not. Could not.
Yeah. When people in movies like slit their wrists.
Nope. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
It's a tough one. That's nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah, that makes me just.
It helped a little bit that she was already.
Ugh.
Well, I guess she.
Well, he slices her throat first.
Yeah. I thought she was dead.
Yeah. Good God. Okay, so first of all, I had never seen Sister Missionaries depicted outside of church media.
Oh.
That was the first time.
Sure.
I've seen elders. Like there's the Book of Mormon musical, but those are elders.
It is a very unique premise to put in a mainstream media.
Right. So it was just, that was new for me.
And they were both cute.
Very cute.
Yeah. And do you know that they're both actually ex-Mormon?
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
I identified more with the one who dies.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, obviously, as an ex-Mormon. Yeah, I would say probably always too. I think we grew up in a fairly Orthodox home, but we were pretty relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Especially you. But like in our family culture, like I was watching more than just Disney movies. You know? Yeah, we weren't the most strict. We weren't doing family scripture study at 7 a.m.
It would fluctuate. Like, we need to be better about doing family home evening and not watching TV on Sunday and this and that.
And Daniel, stop using the computer.
Yeah.
God, it's such a bad example. Oh, God. I was so mad at you for using the computer on Sunday. Jesus Christ. Okay. I also had a companion. I didn't tell you this. I had a companion whose dad died of ALS.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's awful.
And that happened in the movie.
Oh, right.
So I was like, okay, that's a weird correlation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I also didn't identify as much with the other sister because she's like from Ogden, Utah, and like has
very much
7 siblings. And,
stereotype.
Yeah, I think I'm getting that right, those details. But, you know, we grew up in Oregon. We didn't grow up in Idaho and Utah. Mm-hmm. There's a different Mormon culture in the Pacific Northwest. But the ALS was just like such a specific detail. It's like, what the fuck? And just as a female, the element of being trapped and captured is horrifying.
Even by Hugh Grant.
Even by the charming Hugh Grant. I was like, just go back to being the guy from Notting Hill.
Yeah.
Please. It was so scary, though, the way that he just really nailed that, like, charismatic psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just really gets your defenses down.
It feels like he can convince you of a lot.
Exactly. Yeah. But you know something bad is going to happen. Mm-hmm. So from the beginning, you're on edge.
Yeah.
The parts where there were blood, was difficult. I think it being combined, not just with being trapped and tricked and mind games played on you. It was like the pain of the fear and the horror that they were experiencing combined with him forcing them to have a faith crisis. So like a lot of psychological pain. And so it was like my personal nightmare playing out on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was a missionary. I remember this fear of we can't go in there unless there's another woman. And I remember a specific experience on my mission when we were just so desperate to teach people that this guy was like, well, you can come out to the back porch. And it was screened. It was screened in, but it was technically still outside. And so we taught this guy in this weird liminal space where it was like not technically in his house, but there was not a woman present.
Right.
And just lots of other experiences feeling unsafe on my mission. And so.
Yeah. If you haven't seen the movie, he keeps saying that his wife is in the kitchen or something and she'll be right out.
Right. She's making a pie.
So that's why they keep staying. But they keep saying, well, we'd really like to meet your wife. And can she come out, please?
Can she please just come out? Yeah. So, I would say the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to me is my faith crisis. And so that being really symbolically represented in this movie was just a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think at the end when the one who lives escapes, that was also a really symbolic moment. And then Knocking on Heaven's Door starts playing like a cover. And I lost it. I was just so relieved that at least one of them lived.
And it's sung by the girl who dies, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And there's also a question of whether or not the other girl is actually alive.
Right.
Because she sees the butterfly.
Exactly. What do you think?
I mean, it'd be kind of stupid, in my opinion, if like this is her imagining.
The sister who lives is just like hallucinating a butterfly?
It's much more powerful if she actually escapes and then gets to presumably start making more informed choices. And
whoa. Okay, so you're saying that you think it's possible that they're both dead?
That is implied by the butterfly on her hand.
Because she says she's going to come back as a butterfly.
Right.
I thought that I took it literally that she escapes and that she's going to get to go get help for the other women who are like locked in cages in the basement. And I assumed that the other sister came back to life but then had died.
Yeah.
That's how I interpreted it. I know that this movie is really subjective in the way that it ends. But I assumed that the butterfly was the sister who died.
Or at least that she was seeing it that way.
Yeah.
But she sees it, and then she looks back and it's not there.
And it's gone. Right. So it's very...
I mean, she could be absolutely delirious after all this shit has just happened to her.
Yeah, I thought it was like a nod from the other sister.
Sure.
Like, you had said this, and so I did this too, so that you would know it was me.
I think your interpretation of the ending says something about you. I think that's the point.
Like an optimistic.
But it's also, it shows you the labyrinth, the model of the house that she's looking at, and she sees how to get out.
Yeah.
So how would that not be real?
What do you mean?
She is looking at the model of the house and pulling things out to find, how do I get out of here?
Yeah.
And sees the route.
She goes through the skylight.
Yeah.
Right.
So how would that whole thing not be reality?
Yeah, what would be the point of that if she didn't really figure out how to get out and then get out?
That's how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue it lots of ways. But I do like to think they were respectful enough of people's beliefs to add this element where you think she's dead, and the miracle is she comes back to life. The miracle to both the guy and the other sister. And then I do think she dies because she doesn't leave with her. I guess it's possible that she's like going to get help, but she's lost so much blood. How could she live for that long?
She's pretty dead.
So it's like, okay, they both couldn't make it out. This isn't like a happy ending necessarily. So, but they couldn't both die. If they had both died, oh my God, that was just too much.
Yeah.
It really, really affected me. And then you said goodbye and you walked home, and then I cried the whole way home. I was like riding my bike, and this guy, I don't know if he was like drunk. It was really late, and I was wearing my red wool coat. I look like Little Red Riding Hood, and I'm riding my bike home, and he's like, "You're not in Kansas anymore." And I was like, that's not even the right movie. Okay? This is humiliating enough. I'm like bawling my eyes out riding my bike home, and it's like raining a little bit.
Amen, brother.
And then I was so glad that my boyfriend we already had plans for him to come spend the night. And I was so glad that I didn't have to go to sleep alone.
Yeah.
Because I was like seeing the women's faces like in the dark. And like when I was a kid, I would make up that I could see like snakes in my closet in the dark. You know, I have a really overactive imagination sometimes. And so I would like look out the window and be like, oh my God, what if someone, you know, breaks the glass and unlocks my front door? Like someone's going to come and kill me now. I know that's
definitely
happen.
happening.
So, and for like at least 2 weeks after, I have been scared. Like somebody looked at me at the bus in a way that I interpreted as really aggressive. Just these the cumulative effect of these things. I watched Woman of the Hour, and that really freaked me out too. And so I'm just like feeling vulnerable and scared. And watching Heretic was a big piece of that, a big element of that.
Well, I remember saying to you before I left, I was like, I hope you don't blame me.
I don't blame you.
I felt terrible.
Yeah. What are you thinking? And like all of that.
I mean, all that makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't cry.
You didn't cry. Didn't make you cry.
So.
Well, clearly wasn't as personally activating for you.
No. But I did think that it was fairly respectful. It's not like they were shitting on Mormonism. That's just the route that they chose, because obviously
it's just easy.
That's an easy trope for young, impressionable, vulnerable people to be in this position.
And they're one of the only
fault of the church.
Yeah,
really.
They're one of the only people that are doing the door-to-door thing.
And going into strangers' homes.
Yeah. And how vulnerable
and obviously this
they
is
are.
a fantastical representation of what could happen to people.
It's pretty
with
extreme.
This house of horrors and, this fun house, but
the abuse is real.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not outlandish that people have taken advantage of missionaries.
Missionaries die in the field far too often, whether they're in accidents or they're just straight up killed.
Yeah, I remember one of the earliest Mormon Stories episodes that I watched and still remember is a Sister Missionary talking about how she was sexually abused on her mission. Like someone broke into their apartment.
Whoa.
Yeah. Very scary.
There's some fairly prominent stories of like mission presidents.
Yeah, exactly.
Abusing.
Doesn't have to come from outside the church. Being stalked.
Yeah.
Happens a lot.
Yuck.
It's no joke. That's really all I had on the movie. I was just
we can't do a whole
really
dissertation on like let's break down the themes of the film, and
overwhelmed.
It's been done.
Yeah.
But I did want you to share your personal reaction to it.
Yeah. I'm glad I watched it with you.
Would you see it again?
I don't know if it's necessary for me to see it again, honestly. Yeah. Maybe someday.
I feel like I'll probably end up seeing it with my romantic partner. I think I'd like her to see it.
Is it still in theaters, or would you just watch it?
I mean, we'll just wait till streaming, but I think it is still in some theaters.
Yeah, I think it's good for people to see. I think she would like it.
Yeah, she's not ex-Mormon or anything, but she's
dating one.
Oh, she did grow up in a very religious household and
Well, there you go.
deconstructed her own thing.
Yeah. It's relatable. It was just a little too relatable for me.
Yes. And then good luck to the church because they've
good luck.
More attention that they don't want.
Good fucking luck.
And it being I have for the last several seasons made an effort to like censor curse words and stuff. I'm not doing that this time. You know what? Take it or leave it. You get what you get. You can handle a couple F-bombs.
You can handle it.
Some shits. Some dams.
There were some notes that I had made to myself over the last few months, and there's one of them that I think I could share.
Okay.
Unless there was something else.
Nope.
You had.
I'm freestyling,
about
dude.
That. Okay. I think part of the reason that I'm okay to start wrapping this up is interwoven into this sentiment. I feel like I've come back to myself in a big way. Like during my faith crisis, my emotions were so intense and I had no tools to deal with that. And so I wasn't able to mentally stay with myself while that was happening. And I think that that's a common experience for people. I mean, that is what rock bottom is. When you're dealing with the most intense feelings you've ever had and you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You know? I just felt like I had to leave myself and just let myself fall apart.
Yeah.
You know? And then when I was desperate enough to start crawling my way out of that low state, then I started to learn how to take care of myself. And I started getting into more of a routine with exercise, with yoga, trying to pay attention to my thought patterns, trying to sit with myself and learn to meditate. And that allowed me to get to know me again without the church.
Mm-hmm.
And those are still the things that have stayed with me throughout these 5 years, because when we started this, I was 25. Now I'm 30. And I think that that's the biggest change about me, is that I'm more in tune with what I really think and feel in a lot of ways.
I agree. And now you're going to make a career out of helping other people with their sad problems.
With their sad problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think that is really important. A lot of the people that I'm working with now are younger than me, at least. And I really see a pattern of people needing to learn that fundamental skill of how to take care of yourself and how to be kind to yourself. And learn to talk to yourself differently so that you can start to make the changes that you want to see, because I just believe that that's really foundational.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
It seems like over the last few years, you have built a bridge to...
You got over it, okay?
Hey! You have built a bridge to get to where you're leading a life of your choice, and one that's fulfilling and feels personally gratifying. And part of what makes up that bridge is what we've done here.
Definitely.
And talking about it, and it sounds like you're getting to the other side, man.
Yeah, and it feels like the other side for now.
Right.
I don't want to...
There's still plenty of path to tread, but you came to like this ravine that you're like, how the hell do I get over this?
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't want to trick myself into thinking some version of that couldn't happen again.
Sure.
It has come up, and we've talked about that in ways I never expected. And because this has been part of my life for so long, it's not like 5 years and I'm out forever. like it doesn't affect me anymore. It definitely does still. But I think one of the big questions I've had is learning how to make a decision and learning how to make choices when I don't have the belief that kneeling down to pray is going to do anything.
That's something that people do need to supplant is like, well, I don't know what to do. I'll just pray and then it's in God's hands.
Yeah, like how do I learn to trust myself when my thought process used to be, what does God want?
Yeah.
Not what do I
I'll
want?
I'll just accept that, even if it's awful.
Exactly. Even if it's the exact opposite of what I want to do.
Or what does my bishop say?
Yes.
Or
my
whatever.
entire community.
Yeah. Whatever men in my community, primarily.
Yeah. I think that's still a question I have sometimes, and that was part of the movie that was poignant, I guess, for me, is when at the end she's praying, even though she's gone through this horrific thing, and she's like, isn't that nice that somebody prays for you?
Mm-hmm.
And that is nice. And I get emotional thinking about how beautiful it is to believe something.
Yeah.
And I think that that's still something I can respect in spiritual practices. I'm a lot more focused on how they're harmful, but I can still look at that initial pure desire to care about other people and to want what's best for them.
I agree. But then there's the effective rebuttal. Like, yes, that's great. And
that's nice.
And that's nice for you. But the problem is you won't be satisfied until I believe it too.
Right. That is the catch.
And that's not okay.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, do yourself a favor and do a thought experiment. Christians in this country would probably think it's a great idea if they're teaching the Bible in schools.
Oh, and Lord.
We have a Christian nationalism. But don't you see that would be not much different than a nation of Islam where everyone has to act at least like they believe, or they're going to get beheaded, or thrown in jail, or thrown off a rooftop if you're gay. And I don't think you'd want that here, but both of you believe wholeheartedly that you have the right thing and that it should be applied to everyone. But you can't both be right. So why would you act as though you are right and blanket it across a whole society when that's not freedom?
Yeah. That's not freedom.
Right? Isn't that the whole thing we're supposed to have?
Yeah. I think another reason I don't want to keep doing the podcast is because of what we're walking into for the next 4 years. Like, I don't really want to get into it right now, but I do just want to acknowledge that has happened and that really sucks.
Yeah. We haven't really spoken a whole lot about politics and social issues.
I just mean, like, shit could get so bad. And we already don't really have the space to do this much. And with that going on, I just think I'm really going to need to be focusing on how to take care of myself and stay close to my loved ones, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised, unfortunately, but in my heart of hearts, I still can't believe we collectively elected fat, dumb, orange man again. That is so crazy.
It is unfathomable to me. Yeah. Yeah.
I just
want
to be living in a world where I don't see or hear from him ever
again. I know.
And now that's going to be impossible until he's dead.
Yeah.
And if I believed in prayer.
Fucking damn it.
If I believed in prayer.
If I only believed in prayer.
Then I would be praying that he just went away.
Just goodbye.
Look, I don't want him to be a martyr. That would be even worse.
Yeah.
But I don't want him around anymore.
Look what happened to Joseph.
And he's, if he wouldn't have been murdered,
yeah,
we probably wouldn't be here.
He would have experienced his downfall.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes. Pretty soon he would have.
Yeah. Right on the cusp. Another piece of this that I want to hear your thoughts about.
Okay.
It's really interesting to me considering how this started because, you know, you essentially were kind of you weren't the only key, but one of the most essential keys to unlocking my, mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And we have always been so close.
Yeah.
And I have always looked up to you. You're my older brother.
Mm-hmm.
And I have easily been, the word that comes to mind is enmeshed with people who I look up to.
Mm-hmm.
And I take on, in the past, I have taken on people's opinions, aspects of their personalities, and tried to incorporate them because I didn't have a way to exist on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And part of what's happened between you and I over the last 5 years is you are my closest friend and really the only person I felt like I had when I left the church. And because of your help, we've actually, in some ways, grown apart.
Mm.
And that, I think, is really healthy. Like, that distancing of us, not living together anymore.
Right.
Me individuating from you in ways where I can have my own opinion. And what that's caused is sometimes a difference in opinion, and we see things a little bit differently now. And I take that as a sign that I've grown in a way that I can disagree with you.
Sure.
And I really appreciate that because of you, I've been able to need you less in those ways. Like, I don't depend on you anymore for my sense of self. And I just think it's really cool to acknowledge that that's okay and that's good.
Yeah.
You know?
I think really what it comes down to is you have more influences. You're still, that's what people do.
Right.
Is build themselves based on input. For a long time, for many reasons. A, we lived together. B, for a couple of years, we weren't allowed really to be anywhere else.
The pandemic. Remember that?
And
we were just getting drunk and watching Mad Men.
But your circle of influence has grown since you've been in school and whatnot. So, you take pieces from more places. Yeah, that's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah.
I wouldn't categorize it as we're growing apart. We're technically growing somewhat more dissimilar.
Yes.
But, we're always going to be close and we're always going to have,
of course,
influence on each other and all of our lives behind us that bonds us.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want you to be a carbon copy of me.
Right.
But in some ways, I'm glad that you trusted me enough to hear my questions and then eventually ask your own. You didn't just listen to me.
Right.
And what I did.
Yeah. I had already had enough exposure to alternative ideas. And because I trusted you so much, it was just exactly what I needed to take the leap you know? Because at some point, when you're in that space, there's a point where you just have to have enough, quote, faith to let go.
Mm.
Because that's all you've ever known. That's all I ever knew.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what my story would look like when I let go of the old one.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just really grateful that I had you there to help me through that time.
And me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, believe me, there was definitely some moments where I was like, "Oh God,
oh God,
what did I do? What did I do?
What have I done?
What should be better off if I just shut up?" There's some times when you had some real existential.
Oh yeah,
dread.
Definitely. Yeah. What was that like for you to be on the other side of? When I was texting you, like, what if hell is just falling forever, endlessly in the dark?
And there was even some more visceral fear than that
from me
around how you felt about life and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I understood it. I'd been there, and I knew.
You mean when I was suicidal? Is that what you're talking about?
At least talking in a way that, like, I mean, I just don't even care.
I had a lot of passive suicidal ideation. Yeah.
And I needed comfort in that wasn't a real threat, but I understood the quality of the thought.
Yeah.
And that I wouldn't be able at once to quell that for you.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't ever, as your older brother, want that quality of thought in your head ever.
Sure. Yeah. Like it was distress. Was it distressing?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. To think about me being like, life is so meaningless. Why am I even doing this?
Even if I'd thought the same thing and knew that if you have a brain similar to mine, that you would ultimately be okay. But you don't have my brain.
Sure. Yeah. And that came and went.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, and it makes sense. Like I was isolated and I was lonely and I was living abroad and
you didn't believe that this life is just a test.
Exactly. And then, experiencing COVID and lockdown was not a picnic.
That wasn't good for anyone.
Yeah. So it just really compounded a lot of things.
True.
What a time.
Oh boy.
What a journey.
My goodness.
Good Lord. Now I feel great.
Yeah, well, man.
You know what?
I feel pretty good.
I feel pretty good.
Yeah. Of course, I have some self-consciousness around our family in particular. It's one thing for me. I was always the black sheep. But the youngest, who was...
I've fallen from grace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is no big shock that they would have the thought, well, it's all my fault. And I'm...
Yeah, but you were never really bought all in.
No, of course, but you were.
Yeah, and that's much more of a shock.
Yeah.
To a believing person.
So how could they explain that? Well, she looked up to her older brother.
Right.
And you got it, all this anti-Mormon crap in her head.
Heaps of shit.
But I'll never regret it, because
of course
you are sitting here as you are now, and
yeah.
I'm super proud of you.
Thank you. It's really crazy to look back at pictures of like me as an 8-year-old and you baptized me.
Yeah.
We've just really come a long way.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. How wild, that our mom felt like she had just like such a big spiritual prompting to have another kid. 10 years after you were born.
I mean, that's cool. I mean, I'd rather have you.
Yeah. And at this point, I can say I'm glad to be here.
Amen.
Wow.
We did it.
We did it. This feels like a good place to wrap it up.
Yeah. some days it's still hard.
Of course.
Like, hey man, what?
Hey man.
What?
What?
How did this all? If there wasn't a big old man in the sky who lived near a star called Kolob, who just kind of poofed all this stuff into existence and is just keeping an eye on us.
Mm-hmm.
And then we all got somewhere to go when it's over.
Yeah.
How did it happen?
How?
And why does it stop happening?
Right.
And then what?
And then what?
What am I supposed to do?
Right.
Why do I have to have a job?
Yeah.
Why is everything so expensive?
Right. It's very stressful and very scary. Yeah.
And that's why you can understand how religion can be
appealing.
Certainly appealing. I was going to say beneficial, but I don't know that ultimately it is, because we could do something different.
Sure.
But it is appealing.
Yeah. It's consoling.
Yeah.
To a certain degree. And then horrifying when you lose your ability to believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just delaying the inevitable.
Right.
To really have to grapple with these questions.
I think one of the things I was going to say about that movie is, and I don't know, maybe it just made me think of this. I don't know if this was actually the intention, but the setup was it kind of felt like you're going to make a choice based on what you believe or what you don't believe. But ultimately, you're going to die anyway.
That's a good point.
So it's the quality of your experience of the choice. Mm-hmm. But it's all leading to the same place.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
Right. We are all going to die.
Do you want to sacrifice?
That is true.
A bunch of shit that you could do in your life, but won't do because you think an invisible force is going to be mad at you?
Yeah. And also, he wasn't religious, but he was still exerting control in abusive and violent ways. Mm-hmm. And even outside of religion, that's something to watch out for.
Yeah, exactly.
People still want to control you.
Mm-hmm.
I think if there's anything else I want to make sure that gets said in this discussion is just for anyone listening who potentially might be experiencing suicidality or a faith crisis or just depression. Mm-hmm. Like, it's so hard when you're in it. I know that this gets said all the time, and it's so trite when you're experiencing it. And it's so hard to see outside of that or beyond that. But it really can be better.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think that was part of what was so hard about going through a faith crisis after growing up in a cult, because I had never experienced anything else. And I didn't know how to believe it could get better, because I had never made contact with that, what the reality of that would be like. And now 5 years into it, I can actually see what was on the other side. And now I'm okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm happier than I ever have been. Mm-hmm. And it's like, whoa, how can you really get someone to believe that there's something else out there for them when there's no guarantee? And I just hope that this whole series, this whole podcast could be of some consolation for somebody out there who's going through that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it has meant a lot to hear from people who say, I wish I could talk to my family or my siblings like you do. And it really helps to hear this kind of relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm so glad that we're both out. Mm-hmm. Like I listened to a Mormon Stories episode recently where the mom had lost her faith while the daughter was on a mission. And then the daughter lost her faith when she got home. And now they're able to talk about it together. And I'm like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And it's not like I want every Mormon person to lose their faith. I'm just so glad that I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
And I still love our believing family so much.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't want anything about the way that we've decided to live our lives to take away from my connection with them, you know. If anything, I think it's made us closer. And I think we've said that a lot, but I think it's important to have discussions with people who disagree with you and who think differently than you, because if we're never doing that, I just don't like what's the point if you can't explain your worldview in a like respectful way.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to maintain the awareness of you got to understand that you could be wrong.
Yes.
Especially about things that are so intangible.
Yeah.
Like faith.
Exactly.
And the stories that come from that.
Yeah.
All of our stories end on the same note. You never know when that note's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And even though sometimes it feels hard on the journey to get there, if you're on the journey's going to end. You might as well use every faculty and part of your awareness and capability to make it the best journey that you can.
Yeah. Agreed.
And help each other along the way. Be nice, man.
That's right.
Chill out.
Still a journey.
Calm
There's
down.
just not like a weird iron rod that you're supposed to hold on to the whole time.
It's not so straight and it's not so narrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Linear.
It's all over the place, man.
It's a little messier. Yeah. Right.
Right.
Exactly. And maybe at the end, my friends were making a joke about white cherry. Like when I went shopping at Target with Mom, I always wanted a white cherry slushie.
Oh, yeah.
Or an icy.
Mm-hmm.
An icy. And I had one recently. Maybe that's, you get to pick what's at the tree of life,
Mm-hmm.
It's like some weird ambiguous white fruit. Maybe it's white cherry. Maybe it's a white cherry icy,
Sure. Yummy.
Yum. That's all I got.
That's all I got, man.
That's it. Yep.
Well, in terms of how people may listen to this stuff in years to come, say you've been listening to us for a while and you think, well, I'd probably go back and listen to this more someday. Great. But I'll just say I need to find a way to move the archive to another place that doesn't cost money every month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because that's just stupid.
That's just dumb.
Thankfully, there are those places. And I should be able to seamlessly move it without anyone's subscription being broken or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But you will always presumably be able to find it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
It'll all be there. And then if for some reason moving the content breaks the subscription, I really don't think it will, but it will be out there to find.
Yeah.
I'll make sure of that.
Great.
But I'm not going to keep paying to host it indefinitely.
Nope.
Okay.
We're not doing that.
We're not doing that.
No. We have to be more savvy.
Yeah.
All right? We're going into 2025. We can't be fucking around.
Amen to that. Well, shit.
Right.
What if that's really the end?
Oh my God. I think we did a good job.
I think so too.
Yeah. You want to close this out?
Now and forever, I am Brother Dan.
And I'm Sister Lisa.
And this has been Siblings in Zion. And brothers and sisters, adieu.
Adieu. That was a good one.
Hey.
Oh.
If you know, you know.
So where should we go from here? From here, 1,000 walls that we would hide behind.
was beautiful.